I want you to look around wherever you are right now. Maybe you're home, maybe you're in the office, maybe you have your headphones on and you're in the grocery store listening to the program. Maybe you're in your car. I want you to look around. I want you to look around. The overwhelming majority of what you see was not created by the government. It was created by your fellow man. By the private workforce, by private enterprise, by entrepreneurs. Let's say you're driving a bridge. Well, the government paid for this. Yes, but the engineering that went into the first great bridges, the steel bridges, didn't come from the government. It came from, among others, Carnegie. Let's stick with the automobile. The automobile didn't come from the government. It came from a number of great inventors, including Henry Ford. The fuel that moves that automobile didn't come from the government. It came from, among others, John Rockefeller. The electronics in your car, they did not come from the government. The rubberized tires that you use on your car, that didn't come from the government. If you have your headphones on, as many do, by the way, and you're in a grocery store, let's say you're in a supermarket, one of these big ones, like a Wegmans or something that we have here, and you walk down the aisles, all kinds of food within food, from God knows where, domestic, overseas. Yes, you globalists who eat meat from overseas, or drink wine from overseas, or eat cheese from overseas. Oh, yes, you're a globalist. Government had nothing to do with any of it. Period. In fact, that store you're in, government didn't create that. Somebody else did. The cash registers, government didn't create that. Those carts you push around, government didn't create that either. The ATM machines where you need to grab some money to buy groceries, government didn't create that. What time is it? You look at your watch, government didn't create that either. You're walking in your sneakers or your shoes, well, you got clothes on, government didn't create any of that. None of it. And I could go on and on and on. You're heading home. That home wasn't built by the government, wasn't even designed by the government. You take that car and put it in your garage or your carport or park it outside, and you go inside. The windows, the doors, the roof, the floors, government didn't create that. All the hardware in the house, government didn't create that. The faucets, government didn't create that. The electricity that's in your house, well, that goes back a ways. That goes back a ways to Edison and Tesla. And Mellon, quite frankly. Hit a switch, the electricity's on. Hit it again, the electricity's off. The HVAC system in your house that provides you with heat during the wintertime, government didn't create that. Air conditioning in the summertime, government didn't create that. You go to your refrigerator, another thing the government didn't create, and you get water right on the outside, or you press the thing and the water comes out, government didn't create that either. The dishes you use, the silverware you use, the food you have, the beverage you drink, you've done your meal sitting at a table and on chairs the government didn't create. Then you wash the dishes off with liquid soap the government didn't create. Or you put it in your dishwasher, which the government didn't create. Then you sit down maybe on a chair or on a sofa that the government didn't create, and you watch TV that the government didn't create. Maybe you go on your computer that the government didn't create. Or better yet, you listen to me, which the government definitely didn't create. Okay, it's time to go to bed. You go upstairs to the second floor, or you have a ranch, you go to the end of the house. You go in your bedroom. You brush your teeth with a toothbrush and toothpaste the government didn't create. You wash your hands and face with soap that the government didn't create. At a sink the government didn't create. Then you get on your bed. A bed and a mattress, maybe a box board. The government didn't create any of that. Maybe you put your pajamas on. Government didn't create that. You shut the shades in your house. Or maybe you don't have shades. You have blinds or whatever it is. The curtains. Well, the government didn't create that either. You get up in the morning. You do your routine in the bathroom, leave the bathroom, and you get dressed. You put on clothing the government didn't create. You put shoes on the government didn't create. You go downstairs the government didn't create. You eat breakfast. Eggs the government didn't create. Maybe some bacon the government didn't create. Maybe a orange juice or tomato juice the government didn't create. Glass of milk, coffee the government didn't create. And a coffee mug the government didn't create. Leave the house and get back in your car, which the government didn't create. I really want you to look around and think in your life, the value that's created, the lifestyle that's created, the assets you have, the material wealth you have, the necessities for basic subsistence. Government had nothing to do with it. And yet the government, if you're successful at what you do, whether you run your own business or whether you work for a business or whatever you do, the government takes. Maybe the government takes 25%, 30%, 35%, 40%. Governments at all levels, maybe they take 55%, 60% of what you've earned in one form or another. Well, look at the roads, Mark, and look at the tunnels, Mark, and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't have over a $20 trillion fiscal operating debt and over a $220 trillion unfunded liability debt based on infrastructure or based on what the government is supposed to do. We have a massive debt any way you measure it because the government's doing things it's not supposed to do, like redistribution of wealth. When money's taken out of the stream of the economy, when a dollar's taken out of the stream of the economy just because politicians and regulators say it ought to be, because you're put in some fictitious category and therefore you have to cough up a certain amount of money to all levels of government because otherwise you're going to go to prison. Not to do what the government is constitutionally supposed to do, but to do all these extra constitutional things. When you take that dollar out of the economy and run it through the hands of multiple levels of bureaucracy, and it comes out the other end and does God knows what, that kills an economic stream. It kills it. All this tax talk that we have going on now, you hear the so-called supply-siders, 3 or 4 guys, self-appointed, who tell us that these cuts for the corporations will help America. Of course they will. So why wouldn't cuts for individuals help America? Since we individuals pay the bulk of the federal income tax, and corporations pay, a friend of mine who's an ambassador pointed this out to me, pay maybe 8, 9, 10% of the federal income tax, you and I pay the rest of it? Doesn't it make sense that if you slash our rates across the board, that'll create wealth too? But the problem is, folks, they spend so much money. They borrow so much money. They claim to be fiscal hawks that they say, well, we can't, add to the debt. And yet they make no proposals for cutting significant government spending. Unless, of course, it's the military, which we need to protect us, which is one of the responsibilities of the federal government. When you take money out of the private sector, it has consequences intended and unintended. Think about all the wealth, and I don't mean by that rich. Think about all the wealth that would find other areas to grow. Ideas we haven't even conceived of yet. That create jobs, that create opportunities. That create life-improving and life-saving inventions and technologies and products. Instead, we have what are economic illiterates on one network channel after another, one cable channel after another, one satellite channel after another, one AM and FM station after another, and of course throughout the so-called media complex. Absolute economic illiterates. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, all that we have about us, virtually all of it, was created in spite of the government. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.